UAV, popping.
Two down.
God, dude.
Plating.
Oh man. One down right here, one out. Are they up high? Up high? Yeah, right here. Yeah, box, right on us.
Team wipe. Get off me! What's up, guys? This is your captain. So we're gonna do a quick video today discussing the Groza. I think this gun is really freaking good. I think has the potential to be right up there with like the AMAX RAM as a fantastic kind of mid-range gun that has just crazy good time to kill. So the clip you just saw was me getting a team wipe with it. So we're gonna go and we're gonna kind of break down the gun and talk about kind of why this gun is so good. So let's first talk time to kill. So the Groza essentially has the exact same time to kill as the AMAX. So 0.477 for the Groza versus 0.476 for the AMAX. And this data is all from truegamedata.com. It's a fantastic source if you guys are not familiar with it. But one thing that's really interesting with this, though, is that I'm 99% sure when he tested this, he was testing it with no attachments. The final barrel, however, though, does give plus damage, though. Now it does have the cons of it decreases your recoil, or it increases your recoil, it decreases your recoil control. So I did test that, and I'm going to show the difference here. And it is a moderate amount. So essentially, I found that if you run any of the other barrels, your recoil pattern is almost identical to the AMAX. It's very, very similar. When you run this barrel, though, it does have a little bit more vertical recoil than the AMAX. But if you're going to pair this with a sniper, up close, I think this is still the way to go. And I have not had too much trouble controlling this recoil. All right, so we're going to do the Groza recoil test here. I'm only going to shoot 30 rounds here. We're about just over 4 meters away from this target. So relatively vertical, does a little bit of an S, but it's pretty minimal. The horizontal, it's a relatively vertical recoil. So now I'm going to compare that with the AMAX, not this 4.2 meters again, which is what I was the last time. And here we go. So the Groza does have more vertical recoil than the AMAX, and the AMAX already has a lot of vertical recoil as is. But in terms of horizontal, they both kind of do a little bit of this S, just kind of like backwards. Okay, so this is going to be the Groza now with the barrel that... This is the 16.7-inch VDV reinforced. This one does not have a negative to your recoil. So this one only is positive for range and bullet velocity. The one before, I was using the mil-spec, which gives more damage but does hurt your recoil. So I wanted to compare. There we go. So there is a little bit less recoil. So this was the one with the barrel that gives damage, and this is the one without, which is when you do that, it's about pretty much the same as the AMAX. So a few other things to consider. I did throw in the RAM here for comparison, just because the RAM is one of those other high damage assault rifles that pairs really well with a sniper. And if you learn to control the recoil, it can just beam people from long range still, which I feel like that's where the Groza is going to end up being one of those guns. So the RAM does have a higher or slower time to kill than both the AMAX and Groza. Now, when it comes to ADS, I think the Groza ADS is really, really good. So from True Game Data's website, I built like a fully decked out AMAX and RAM. So I had a monolithic suppressor, Commando foregrip, the longest barrel for both, the largest magazine, and then I used a Corp Hollow sight just because it's a pretty common sight, I feel like. So for the AMAX, it was 444 milliseconds, and then for the RAM, it was 367. So the AMAX is a pretty slow ADS. Now, if you can take off that sight and put on a tack laser, it does help out a lot, but a lot of people do prefer the sight. The Groza, from my testing, I was getting around 300 milliseconds. I know my testing might not be as accurate as theirs. I probably did it a little bit differently. The way I did it was I recorded a clip and then I went frame by frame in my recording software and tried to go from when I started to when I ended. So I was getting around 300 milliseconds. It definitely feels really fast. It feels like in this RAM ADS time. So it might be a little higher than 300. I might have done it inaccurately. I apologize. But it is definitely a much, much faster ADS than the AMAX. Now, we talked about recoil already a little bit. Essentially, if you're using that mil-spec barrel that gives the damage, a little bit more recoil, you're using any of the other ones though, the recoil is very similar to the AMAX. I would probably say your best bet, if you don't like the extra recoil, would go with the 16.7-inch VDV reinforced. And that one's going to give you range and bullet velocity, but not the damage. Whereas this one will give you damage, but it's going to hurt your recoil. And then another really big thing to consider is going to be the ammo differences. And I think this is a huge advantage for the Groza. So the Groza has the largest magazine size of 60, okay? Whereas the AMAX and the RAM have 45 and 50. So, and with the fast mag, the reload time is pretty solid. I did not test reload time specifically, but it's by no means slow. And then you could even go with the 45 and have a really, really fast reload, but I would definitely recommend going with the 60 round fast mag. It is very solid. And to add to that, when we talk about RPM, and this data is again from truegamedata.com, the AMAX has kind of like an in-between RPM compared to the AMAX and the RAM. The AMAX is a little bit slower of a shooting gun at 630 rounds per minute, and the RAM is a very fast shooting gun at 856. A lot of people will say the RAM's a little bit too fast. You really fly through that mag with it only being 50 rounds. Since the AMAX does shoot slower and has a slower RPM, the 45 rounds is okay. You can usually do pretty good about downing, at least 2 people, if not 3, if you really hit your shots. The Groza, though, being kind of like a happy medium of kind of not necessarily a fast shooting gun, not a slow shooting gun, and having that 60 round mag is going to really give you the ability to go through multiple enemies at a time. So for trios quads, I think the Groza has a huge advantage. And then you saw in that very first clip of the video, I was able to team wipe with, I think, only reloading 1 time. So it is very solid in that aspect. For the rest of the loadout, what I would recommend is the final suppressor or final muzzle, which is the GRU suppressor. Essentially, this is a monolithic suppressor. There are different names for the different Cold War guns, but basically the last suppressor is going to be the one that is going to give you suppression, and it's going to give you damage range. For the barrel, personally, I'm okay with running this mil-spec that gives you more damage. It does take a little getting used to. It really kicks up at first. It has a little bit of that S shape, but once you get used to it, I don't think it's bad. If you want to use this a little bit longer range, I would definitely recommend going for the VDV Reinforzo. And it's still going to have, if you use this, you're still going to have identical time to kill as the AMAX, which is phenomenal time to kill. I don't know what the time to kill difference is using this barrel, unfortunately. It's really hard to test these guns because you can't test them in multiplayer. So the only way I know how to test it would be like having someone like stream snipe me essentially and queue up at the same time so I can test on them. I don't really have a means to do that, so here we are. I'm assuming it's going to be better, and we'll hopefully, True Game Data or Jay God, one of those YouTubers, will come out with some more information on that in the future. The iron sights are really solid on this, to be honest. Personally, though, I'm just not an iron sight fan in general. So I'm going with the Microflex because it's only a 1.25. I know a lot of people like the Cobra, which is 1.75, but I don't mind the decreased zoom. It's all personal preference. Obviously, you could use it 2 times or 3 times if you wanted to do more, longer. I think 3 times would be a little tough for this gun with the amount of recoil it has, though. Underbarrel, we're definitely going to be using the Spetsnaz speed grip that gives recoil control to both vertical and horizontal. I think that's like the second to last grip is like the go-to underbarrel for all the Cold War guns, essentially. Ammo we talked about, we're going to use that 60 round fast mag. So if you are comfortable with the iron sights, I would probably recommend using the airborne elastic wrap so that you get that aim down sight and flinch resistance. Aim while going prone does not matter at all in Warzone. It does in Cold War. In Warzone, you can still drop shot even without one of these grips for the Cold War gun. So do not worry about the aim while going prone stat in Warzone. I haven't really messed around with the stocks too much, to be honest. I think the aim walk, the strafing speed that it has as is with aiming is already really good. It feels a lot faster than the AMAX, than a lot of the Modern Warfare guns, but you could definitely do that if you wanted to. So that's my loadout. Let me know if this video helped you guys. I'm planning to continue to do these new Cold War gun analysis videos in the future. So if you enjoy this video, I'd greatly appreciate you giving a like and subscribe to me for more future content. I do stream on Twitch, TCaptainX. I'll have my link down in the description. Feel free to come check me out if you have any questions or feedback. Leave them in the comments. Everyone, have a great day.